Plus, time to be very concerned. As if it's not bad enough that pet rabbits, pet cats and foxes have been mutilated, killed in the most appalling way possible. I will tell you after 9:30 in some detail, so if there are children, you might want to be present when I go through that. Well, now there's the fear that whoever is the cat killer, or whoever are the cat killers, could move up the grade a little and start attacking humans. Tony Jenkins has founded a charity, Snarl. I'll give you the reason why it's called that. It's because it's based in South Norwood, by the way. In response to this.
I'd say he's probably got sociopathic tendencies as well, because of the way in which he displays them, it ought to cause maximum impact and horror.
Yeah, it is horrific. I'll tell you more after this. So again, if you've children, you might want to be around them. 9:31, you're listening to Breakfast with me, Nick Ferrari, here on LBC. Time for the news, Simon Conway.
Check in at your hotel with the Hilton Honours app.
Give you 4 more details on this cat killer story now. We'll be talking to someone a bit about later in there, but I appreciate if you have got children, you might have sort of sent them, I don't know, to go and tidy their bedroom. We'll see if there's a monster under the bed. So the Met Police says it fears a prolific cat killer suspected of hundreds of mutilations and killings could escalate their crimes to attacking vulnerable girls and or women. More than 360 deaths of cats, foxes and rabbits in Greater London and some of the home counties. In most cases, now this is the truly horrific part, all right, so if children now, I'll get it all over in about 10 seconds. In most instances, they take the cat or the rabbit, they chop off its head, and they chop off all the limbs, and then they return body parts bit by bit to the owner. Sorry, I say they, it could be one person, I don't know. I mean, it's not quite Hannibal Lecter, but this is pretty bloody sick, isn't it? So you get someone's pet cat, I promise I'll stop after this, for the kids, and you chop off each of its limbs and its head and send it back, piece by piece, to the owner. Scotland Yard has been running... Now, why do they call it this Operation Takahe, or Takahe? Tango Alpha Kilo Alpha Hotel Echo. Takahe? Why not just call it Operation, I don't know, Elm? They like trees a lot, don't they? Operation Apple. Apple wouldn't really work. Operation whatever you like. Operation Dishwasher. I mean, what is there a Takahe? Can we look it up? Can you have a quick tap the word in? Do you mean to spell it again? Tango Alpha Kilo Alpha Hotel Echo. Takahe. It might be something, I don't know. They're working closely with the RSPCA and Snarl. Now, this is the South Norwood, because this is where the attacks emanated initially from which they emanated, where they emanated. South Norwood Animal Rescue Liberty, Snarl, an animal rescue organisation. We hope to be able to speak with a gentleman from Snarl a little bit later, but he's very busy at the moment. But anyway, I told you about it. There is a £10,000 reward. If you can give information, you should contact police or Crime Stoppers and talk about Operation Takahe. Is a word that doesn't exist. Does it exist? No, not at all. We're just typing it in now. I'll let you know. Let's come back to the idea. Oh, does it? Well, this is extraordinary. Do you know what a Takahe is? I'll tell you after the travel update. Jay's in Edgware. Let's talk about the idea. So, what is a Takahe? Have we got that sound again? Can we just play that again? This is that they're calling this operation to try and find the people or person responsible for this hideous number of deaths and mutilations of cats, rabbits and foxes in and around the Greater London area. Well, this is a Takahe. It's a flightless bird normally to be found in New Zealand. Who makes these names up? It's fantastic, isn't it? What was Wheating? Do you remember Operation Wheating? Can we look up what a Wheating was? And is there a sergeant sitting there at Scotland Yard? Hi, Sarge. Yeah, everything right? Yeah, we've got a really grim one down in South London. What have we got? Well, we've got a series of animals being mutilated and killed. Can I get a name? Takahe. Sorry? Takahe. Let's call it Operation Takahe. Yeah, OK, Guv, no problems. By the way, it's a flightless bird in New Zealand. Yeah, of course it is. Where do they get them? I am going to ask Cressida Dick, the Commissioner, next time, where'd you come up with these things? Operation, can we just look up, and wasn't it Even Door? I'm going to look up some of those while I speak with someone who can help on this matter. James Treadwell is a Professor of Criminology from Staffordshire University. The Met Police are expressing fears, Professor, that the man or people, or possibly even woman, responsible for the mutilation, I stress, horrific mutilation of these animals and then obviously their deaths, could move up a scale. How likely is that? Good morning to you.
Good morning, Nick. It's very, very difficult to say in some ways. Obviously, the basis for that is what they do know, and what has been seen in the background of several serial killers, is the violence towards animals and enjoying that sort of degree of sadism is found there in the background, and therefore the fact that there's such a sort of high number in this instance that and the descriptions that I've seen seem to sort of suggest so far that it is looking for a man. There have been sort of several suggestions.
Oh, right, okay.
Of a white male, going equipped as well. There's been descriptions of head torches and so on. The anxiety is that the sort of sadistic pleasure that's being derived from, in the first instance, targeting animals may, in fact, over time move on to people. And that is something that can happen. But similarly, the fact that there have been such as about 250 killings now would suggest that just in this behaviour that individual has become quite fixated, and what we also see is you see that the murders started at and around Croydon and now seem to have gone further afield and geographically spread. And again, that's something that we know with profiling, that people tend to begin to offend in an area that they're comfortable with, closer to their residence, and then move further afield as time goes on.
And what sometimes is the trigger, Professor, in past cases? Are there any precedents we can see with criminals, with violent criminals who started perhaps with the mutilation of animals and then moved up to humans? Is there a trigger point?
It's very, very difficult to say, because obviously for every offender that exhibits those sort of the streak of cruelty to animals, you'll get others that won't necessarily, and it won't be there in the background, and there'll be other factors. So there isn't necessarily an obvious trigger, but what you do see is in the most sort of disturbed and difficult backgrounds very often, that people will then act out violence and brutality on others around them. So be it people or be it animals, it's often a pattern of disturbed behaviour from people from very, very difficult, traumatised backgrounds.
Lastly, without going into too much detail, because there could be children listening, but the way the animal is mutilated and then sent piece by piece back to the owner, what does that say about this person's thought patterns, brains, or motivation?
Well, clearly that is a part of the offence that they're doing very, very deliberately, I think, and that again is interesting, because that again suggests that there's some degree of planning that's going into this. This isn't random offending. This is offending that someone's become very, very fixated and attached to, and is clearly getting something out of, and I think it's very, very unlikely that the individual is just going to go away and disappear.
What a horrific thought. Professor, thank you. James Treadwell, Professor of Criminology from Staffordshire University. Well, we talked about Operation Takahe, and I mentioned Operation Wheating. That's a village in Norfolk. What? Who is it down at the yard who comes up with these names? Morning, Sarge. Morning. Yeah, we've got to have a look at some journalists who might have been hacking phones and paying money in a Oh, right, yeah. Can we get an operation? Wheating. Sorry, Wheating. Righto, Sarge, thanks. Hi, Sarge, yeah. Another investigation. Elvedon. What? Elvedon. OK, how do you spell it? E-L-V. OK, and what is it? It's a village in Suffolk. I mean, why do they... Takahe. It's a flightless bird in New Zealand. Thanks, Sarge. You're all right, Cuff. No problems. All right, guys, girls, what we're going to call it is Operation Takahe. Operation what, Cuff? Takahe. Oh, right, Sarge. Yeah, how do you spell that? Why can't it just be called Operation Tree? I don't know. All right. Gary Lineker in trouble. John in 7.